Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a sensational start to your day. Today, we're still moving through the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. We're on Chapter 8. And Chapter 8 is in regards to Decentralized Command. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Decentralized Command is and how it works and how it best works for teams and businesses and companies. It talks a little bit about here in Chapter 8, it says, it's important to explain and ensure that everyone understands why he or she is doing what he or she has as a particular job or task. The overall picture of understanding how that contributes to what they're trying to achieve and what it is exactly that they're supposed to be doing. What's the standard operating procedures, that SOPs we've talked about. It says leaders develop their junior leaders to empower them to make decisions. So we want to make teams and teams and teams of people that then can report up and have clear communication and help all contribute towards the greater good of the team or the business. These leaders then believe that the assisting of them helps fulfill their potential, and it provides a supportive environment for those, and also helps self-improvement for the individuals. So not only are we helping them individually, but then we're helping them as leaders build teams, and then those teams reporting up the chain and down the chain, making sure we all have clear communication. Now, the opposite side of that is that leaders that have a high on power, it's like the power trip, they lack in the confidence of others, and they don't delegate. They fail to delegate, and they fail to grow the people that report to them. And that's a challenge that I've had in the past, and I've known that as I've grown in a business or as a company, that I need to be better at understanding my strengths, work on those, and also develop others and create teams to then who they report to me as how to their team is doing, and so forth. Teams need to be broken down into manageable dozens of individuals with clear designated leader. The junior leaders then must be empowered, right, to make their own decisions on key tasks as necessary to accomplish that given mission or task to be most effective and efficient. So that was just covering the bases there, making sure that not only are we helping by splitting into manageable teams, but then making sure that those team leaders are understanding their role so that they can help and know what they can do for those that report to them, and then they know who they're reporting to. So it's all very clear. So that's part of what Chapter 8, Decentralized Command, talks about. There's some questions in the activity sheet that I have. I'll put in the comments, and then I'll put in the post my thoughts on Decentralized Command. So Chapter 8, some of the questions we've got 4 questions. Number 1 is, what are some ways we can push decision-making down to the frontline leaders? We just talked about that briefly. Ensure that we have manageable team sizes. You can't know everything that's going on with a team that has 100 or 50 or 30 people in it. You got to make sure that we make manageable team sizes. Create supervisors, managers, foremen, etc. that can handle 4 to 6 staff. Then training them on leadership, training them with having responsibility of the people they're in charge of, and helping them see the big picture of how their leadership is then helping the overall goal of the company or the team. Making sure that they're clear on who they report to and who reports to them. So there's some ways that we can kind of force down and implement leaders to the front line. But as long as there's that training in place, right? It's the worst case was when you just throw someone into leadership positions and they're really good at like maybe one particular part of the job, and they're like, oh, well, you're the most experienced. We're going to throw you in as the leader now of the team. And they don't have any leadership experience. You've got to give them the resources. You've got to give them the training. You've got to help them understand what the role is of their position. Not just promote those that are good at one particular thing. How can decentralized command work in your crew or organization? So I've seen this happen where we've had a leader that's had a direct report of 40 people or more, and then we cut it down to 10 or less, and we created field supervisors, and then underneath field supervisors we had foremen, and then underneath foremen there were those that reported to them. So they all reported up, and then instead of having 40 people or more to report directly to you, we've decentralized it. We've made sure that these teams then report to this person, and this team reports to that person, and then those overall teams report to the leader. So I've seen that implemented, and it's really been effective, and it's had a positive effect, right? Everyone feels more clear and unified towards what the goal of their team is and how they can help better the business. Why is trust in setting up leaders and setting up this decentralized departments so important? I think trust is an interesting thing for a lot of people because of depending on the way you grew up. I don't believe you necessarily have to earn someone's trust. I think it's something that you give through building up some leadership, through going through stressful situations, working together on problems, being open and honest and clear, having expectations, like clear expectations, getting the right resources for the person. If you're having all those things, then have that faith in them that they have everything they need and that you trust in that they'll do the right thing, and then they should do it. You should lead by example. Now, there are obviously times where people will take advantage of that trust, and that soon comes out in the wash. You just know, and it comes up. But in the meantime, I think it's best to lead by example, making sure that all through those different scenarios we talked about, the stressful situations, being open and honest, being clear with what their role is, understanding the big picture, getting them the resources, making sure that they have and understand the clear picture of the whole company or the business, that their objectives you might have, even if it's for a team or if it's company or it's your family, and then trust that they'll do it. We've got to put your trust, your faith in it. And, a lot of people will sense that and they'll reciprocate. And there are sometimes that won't. But I think that for me personally, I think that's the best way to go. And I think trust is really important and we should have a little faith. How does simplicity in the leader's intent, apply to decentralized command? This is the last one for today. Thanks for watching, Natalie. Got a few people here on live bright and early in the morning. The last one, so I think keeping it simple is very key because we can work with really complicated and technical things. But as we've talked about in the previous chapters of this book, where I think it breaks it down really well, we talked about Extreme Ownership is the book by Jocko Willink, who's in military situations of life and death, of great technical and strategic battles and missions. That's hardcore. We're just talking about growing and building a business, right? Or a family or a company, which is very important, but less drastic, less lethal in some cases. So it is a good responsibility, it is a high responsibility to be simple, because it can be very detailed like these missions were, and they explained, but they broke it down into steps, they broke it down into leadership roles, and they made it as simple and clear as possible, all the way down, all the way up, making sure that we're all on the same page. And then revisiting, and then clarifying, and then re-clarifying. So there was situations where they had to re-clarify positions as they wanted to move into a certain area and strike this particular building. And they were ready to do that, but they weren't clear. One person wasn't quite sure if that was the right building. Then everyone thought there were snipers on that building. And then the leader just asked the question, count the buildings between here and there. Are you at the right position? Is that the right building? Well, it took them a long time to figure that part out. They took it down, they broke it down into basic steps, and then they realized, oh, nope, that's friendlies. We got we've got our own guys on that building. So they called off the attack and went to another building. And so that could have been devastating if they didn't have that decentralized command, if they didn't break it down and keep it simple. In that case, could have been fatal. So I think this is a really good chapter. I think the whole book in general has great value. And I think Decentralized Command, Chapter 8, is great. We've got ways to make things more accountable for people in our environment. We can create teams and amongst teams if we get too big or if we're in groups that are too big. And we want to make sure that we are still all clear and that we're all working together. It's the unity and the development of that one goal and that clear picture from either the CEO or the leader of the company or the business or the group or the team, if it's a sports team, or the captain, making sure that the overall goal is clear and that it's broken down into simple steps. I think Decentralized Command is amazing. I've seen it in action. I've heard it in this book. I've seen others talk about it, and I think that if you're in an organization, I would definitely recommend or suggest ways to implement this. So I hope you have a fantastic day. That's chapter 8. We'll go chapter 9. There's only 12 chapters in this book, so we're nearly done. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you later.